Common Sense in this bitch, aka the Soul of Andromeda, the Night of Venus. And if you tapped into my 2 previous videos, you heard me mention that during this Libra season, it's imperative that we act with diplomacy, that we act with empathy, we act with intentions of balancing any issues or animosities. I mentioned this already, you know what I'm saying? Because the first time I mentioned it, it was just with everything that's going on with the season of Libra, with the sun being in Libra. So much of our attention and active mind is on balancing things out. But with this eclipse in particular, the solar eclipse, the sun, moon, and Mercury is going to be in Libra, which places a stellium in that area, making it a hyper focus, not just a focus, but now a hyper focus to balance things out and be diplomatic. Now, during that eclipse, I mentioned that it will be squaring Pluto in Capricorn. Now, the things that this brings, from my awareness, from my analysis, is heavily political. And we can see right now what people are talking about in the news. I'm not going to say too much because they're going to say, you know what I'm saying? But we can see right now what's the most trending thing in the news. And I don't think it's a coincidence how all of a sudden this shit starts happening now in the time of diplomacy, in the time of balancing things out between war and peace, yin and yang, positive and negative. You see what I'm saying? Polarity, picking sides, in other words. See, Pluto in Capricorn is interesting on its own. Like, in and of itself, Pluto represents death, transformation. Not even just death and transformation, but depth of transformation, as in deep transformation. A lot of times that looks like death, but it's not necessarily things dying per se, but the end of something starts the beginning of something else. And these are all the things that Pluto represent. But when it goes into Capricorn, Capricorn is a sign that naturally represents status, world leaders, and also it represents politics. It represents discipline. Now, what's interesting about Capricorn, you know, symbolizing all of these things, is that it's ruled by Saturn. Okay. Now, taking that to account, Saturn is exalted in Libra. So it's like Saturn has the highest potential, or should I say Libra has the highest potential to display Saturn-like qualities. Libra has the highest potential to display discipline, has the highest potential to display structuring things for the sake of balance, for the sake of stability, for the sake of harmony. Now, take into account, what does Libra, the actual symbol of Libra, look like? Scales. What do you see in the courtroom? Scales. Like, look somewhere in the courtroom, you're going to see a symbol of scales. Matter of fact, go on Google and type in Law and Order. Not the TV show. Type in Law and Order symbol or some shit. And then go to the images. What you going to see? Lady Justice. The lady with the fucking sword and scales. You know what I'm saying? That's Libra. Why do you think that is? Because of that Saturn exaltation. Now, going back into what I'm saying about right now, knowing that Saturn naturally rules Capricorn, and we're having this eclipse stellium in Libra, let's take a look at what could happen in the next few weeks, few days, whatever the case may be. Pluto, deep changes, sudden changes, transformations, death, things coming to the light that was probably secrets at one point in time. And then Libra, balancing that energy out, harmonizing, not using this energy to manipulate, but instead to seek a way to reach common ground. So with all of this information, all of this data in mind, my main point in making this video is to tell you, one, nothing is a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. And, you know, if you're someone, you know, this is actually a great point to bring up right now, speaking of Capricorn and Saturn-like energies. If you're someone who has a high status, you know, if you have a leadership role, if you're a manager at your job or whatever the case, if you have a status that deals with leading other people, then you understand that one of your main responsibilities to lead these people is to have things planned out so that you can lead them in the proper direction and not lead them astray. You know, no captain is going to sail his ship without knowing where the fuck he's going. The captains of the ship plan their destination out. So leaders plan out their moves. They plan out their actions. So knowing that nothing is a coincidence, you better believe everything that's happening right now is fucking planned. You understand what I'm saying? First and foremost. Secondly, there's no coincidence that it's happening right now during the time where it's most damn near crucial. It's vital for you right now to be diplomatic, to be balanced rather than unbalanced. Right now, if you're unbalanced, it's very likely for you to stay in that unbalanced state longer than, you know, maybe if it was, I would say maybe if there's Aries season or some shit like that, right? Maybe if the eclipse is going through Aries season or something like that, maybe you can get away with being unbalanced right now. But being as though that this eclipse is happening in Libra, you have no choice but to seek balance, or you're going to be highly upset, highly irregulated, highly insuccinct, if that makes, you know what I'm trying to say. So that being said, there's no coincidence that with that being said, where it's most crucial for you to be balanced, they're trying to make you pick a side. They're trying to make you not be balanced. They're trying to make you be polarized. They're taking you out of that state of stand in the middle ground of something, which is what all balance is, standing in the middle of something, balancing the weight so that it's not getting too distributed on each side. That's all it is. Now they're telling you, no, don't stand in the middle, because if you stand in the middle, you don't care. You're too indifferent. You're not ethical. When last time I checked, when you're getting too polarized, that's you being too demonic. That's worse. You know what I'm saying? If anything, it is ethical to stand in the middle and see all perspectives instead of being egotistic and focusing on one perspective and assuming that's the right one. What if I told you everyone was right? What if I told you everyone was wrong? Then what? But see, you think that there's one party that's right and that there's one party that's wrong. This eclipse season is telling you to look at the powers that be and notice how they consistently put us against each other. Again, this is a time about balance, harmony. And look at what the motherfuckers are trying to do. Don't pick a side.